What's going on, everybody? This is AJ Capasso here from Talking with the Source. I'm here with my cheeky old friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you've seen the rest. Now you'll see the best. Robin from Haffer and Paranormal on Talking with the Source.
Are we on WWE right now? Are you doing a WWE promotion or something? I mean, what are you, John Cena?
I just thought I'd mix it up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Oh my God!
You're telling me all the time. You're telling me all the time. Act in front of the camera.
I don't know about that much. Jeez. Oh my God! Only you, my friend. Anyway, real quick, I just want to make a shout out. We're getting closer and closer to the Global Ghost Hunt first year event. The first event of 2 of the year, May and October. May is coming up. We have so many teams that are actually going to be on this. It's going to be awesome. I mean, I think we're at like 20 teams, a little bit over 20 teams, I believe, that are going to be broadcasted throughout that whole 10 days. It's going to be absolutely awesome. And this is just the first event. So I am super excited for all the teams that are on with me and also with Sarah that we've been working with. Just great teams, great people. If you're interested in signing up to the next event, which is coming, it's going to be streamed all over the place. We're going to be releasing platforms that are coming up. The schedule just got released. And I'm not sure if they put the platforms on that. I have to relook, but go to www.globalghosthunt.com. You could sign up. Sign your team up. We also look for volunteers, which we're definitely going to need. We also have had people sign up for volunteers, and I appreciate everybody. We will be using you for this next event in October because we were a little unexpected of what was going to happen, and it turned out way better than I think all of us anticipated for the first event. So really pumped about that. But real quick, man, we have our co-host with us, which I'm super excited to bring on right now, which is dancing in the background, so I got to bring him on. We got good old Todd Sylvia of Relatively Paranormal, our good old co-host. What is up?
He's back. He's back.
It's my brother from a Massachusetts mother.
You already know what's up, brother. What's going on? How's everybody doing?
Not much, man. Super happy. Good, man. Good. Yeah. How'd you been?
I'm good, bro. I'm surprised you didn't even mention where you're going, bro, with the superstars, with the true paranormal couple, Todd and Marissa.
Well,
what's going on, bro?
I had to bring you on first so that we could announce that. So please, by all means, you do that and tell us where we're going for the Global Ghost Hunt event.
Okay, so this ties into it. The good news is that finally I have the Hinsdale episode part 1 like 90% done, ready to go on to the Parapost Network. And we're going back to the name Wickedly Haunted because it's just such a badass name. So we're rolling back to Wickedly Haunted. So if there's any fans of that show out there, it's coming back in that format. And it's mind-blowing. What we have to show is mind-blowing, messed up. Some of it has changed even my opinions about the paranormal world. I can't really give away too much. Really like crazy stuff. So that ties into this because we're going back on May 13th, right? May 13th, we'll be streaming live from the Haunted Hinsdale House, which in our years of doing this, most haunted place we've ever been, and strangest place, energy-wise, vortex-wise, whatever you want to call it. It's an amazing, amazing joint, and that's why we picked it. Even though we just went last July, we have to go back. So that's where we're doing our Global Ghost Hunt event from. And it's going to be must-see TV.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be awesome, man. And what I was going to say that, what you said, the weirdest energy that is there. Hold on, Robin. What I was going to say is about the weird energy that's there. It actually ties in to what I think is going to be something very epic for today's show to bring on our awesome guest. But Robin, before we bring him on, go ahead and say what you were going to say because I know you're over here holding it back.
Just going to say, for Todd especially, this week coming, Wednesday night, I think it is, Most Haunted medium Chris Conway on the podcast, Todd.
Get out of here. I'll have to go on that one. Absolutely. I'll make time.
Most Haunted.
What's that? He said Chris Conway from Most Haunted. Marissa asked me who, because we love
Scottish guy.
Well, anyway, guys, I want to bring on our awesome guest.
Awesome.
I want to get the episode. We have an awesome guest today. His name is Rob. He is from Ghost Gear Tech. I want to bring him in real quick.
I know him.
Hey, what's up?
Hey,
Todd, Robin, AJ.
How are you guys?
Doing good.
Good.
Can I make a quick announcement? That's the man that I do business with. Good dude, makes some of the best devices on the planet, high quality, just like me, which is why Rob and I work together. Otherwise, I bought, or he actually sent me one of his devices, and I was so impressed with it that I asked him if I could sell them in my relatively paranormal equipment shop on Etsy, and they've done very well. They've done very well, and they're awesome devices. They get 5 stars every time. He ships twice as fast as we put on the thing on our description. And listen, 5 stars, I'm all about it, baby. But they work. That's why they get 5 stars.
Yeah. So,
Beautiful
Rob,
stuff.
oh,
Sorry,
sorry,
go ahead.
Rob. Go ahead. No, go
I was
ahead,
just
Rob.
going to say I get a lot of good feedback from the devices, so I'm real happy about that. And Todd's been a huge help in getting the word out about ghost gear.
Yeah. No,
Good
absolutely.
stuff.
I mean,
Usually
to
Rob and I are
remind-
talking on the phone. We don't get to talk much on video chat. So
Yeah,
good stuff
right.
here, buddy.
There you go. Well, first question I have for you, Rob, is how did you get into all this? What made you get into all this?
So I kind of grew up in a haunted house. Actually, we had 2 haunted houses. We had a vacation home down in the Florida Keys that was haunted, and then our home in Michigan. It wasn't always haunted, but when my dad decided to build onto the house because the family was growing and we needed more bedrooms, so he built a second story. And during or after the renovation of that second story is when we started noticing a lot of strange things, seeing a lot of things. So that kind of got me tuned into the paranormal, and then I moved out of that house in my 20s and hadn't really had any paranormal experiences since then. Went to school, college, became an engineer. And, I think that the mix of having the history of the paranormal and then the engineering, make those two together and boom, I'm making devices. So I started off making music boxes like this little one right here, one of my first. They were actually very successful. A lot of people really liked the music boxes. The problem back then was I couldn't build them fast enough because a lot of time went into making them, soldering all the components together. And then, of course, I would paint them up and make them look real nice. I'd antique them to give them an aged look. And then that got, enough income to where I could develop new devices that I had ideas about. So that's where the ultrasonic motion detector came in and the REM puck. And I had a bear there for a while, but wasn't able to sell the bear because the company that I was doing business with, the company that was doing the engineering work, we had a falling out, so to speak. Ultimately, they were fleecing me. They were not planning on delivering anything. They didn't deliver the bears, is what happened. So I paid them to design the bear circuit boards. They never delivered the bear circuit boards. So I lost out on a lot of money, dealing with them. So, that's where, but out of them, I did get the ultrasonic motion detector, which is a great device. This happens to be my last one. Once this one is gone, I won't have any more for a while because they never gave me the bill of material or the schematics so that I could reproduce them. So, as part of their fleecing, they also screwed me out of being able to reproduce them on my own. So that's what got me into it, the paranormal in my youth, and then as an engineer, and then I think blending those two, led me into making devices for the paranormal.
Awesome.
And I'll tell you what, that's a shame on the ultrasonic motion detector because it's become one of most of my favorite devices. One, because it captures a lot of strange things. And when I say strange, I mean like it shows you where the anomaly that it's picking up with the sonic waves is up to 13 feet. And we've seen anomalies jump around from 13 feet to 2 feet to 8 feet and bouncing all around as the GS2 laser grid sitting right next to it, mapping the same figure as the SLS gets taken out, mapping the same figure. And you have to wonder, is it bouncing in and out of its dimension, or is it just moving that damn fast? Because we know that they move like that fast. We've all seen it. So, it just brings like a lot of things. Like it makes me think a lot when a device like that works that well and it corroborates everything else that I have. which you everybody. That's what I'm all about, corroborating evidence. I don't want one thing going off. I want them all going off. So, it's been a really interesting device. And in the Hinsdale episode that will be coming out this week, that device plays a bit of a starring role as Marissa and I have a conversation in a strange area with it for a while as the entity sets it off on command to answer questions, along with a couple of the devices that we took out with it. But that was the original device that I turned on. I even said, I think I said something like, "Holy shit, is that real?" Because as soon as I turned it on, it was like, boop, boop. I said, "What?" I said, "Is that really happening?" And it was, and it kept going on for a while too. So it's been an amazing device. So I'm actually sad that that's the last one, and they sell well too because they're badass.
Well,
Yeah.
Todd,
And having an engineering background helps as well, really, doesn't it? Because if you have the engineering background, you have the know-how to do this.
Yeah, it helps me with not just the know-how, but knowing if it's possible, right? So I talk to a lot of people in the paranormal field, and they give me ideas. They're like, "Hey, what about a device that does this?" And then I'll think through, and I'm like, "Well, that's not even possible, right?" In the technology-wise, right? For instance, one of my favorite ones, and I get it a lot, is why can't we see EMF? And I'm like, well, that would be military NASA grade stuff for one thing, and two, we're surrounded by EMF.
Yeah.
So really, it would be like scuba diving in like the Mississippi River. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't see anything because it's so dense.
yeah.
You wouldn't be able to see anything, even if you could see all the EMF spectrum.
And technically, you would want a device that you didn't see it, like so that you knew that something abnormal was happening when those devices are going off. It's not we want stuff that blocks out the man-made EMF, not sees more of it.
Yeah, that's what you would have to do. Is you would have to have like a spectrum analyzer of some sort where you could go in there and tune out a lot of the frequencies, and that's really what we did with the Piccolo. So I spent, this is on revision 4 or 5 on the prototype, and that's because you're trying to pick up a whisper of EMF in a crowded room of EMF, right? And you if you don't set it just right, you're going to have that thing going off all the time. But if you set it too low, you'll never get it to go off. So you've got to get it just right to pick up that whisper of EMF, which is what we're looking for. So you've got to narrow the frequency bandwidth. You've got to narrow the amplitude, and a lot of testing, really. And it's, it's a Faraday cage. So I guess talking into the Piccolo. So this is my EMF music box, and it is adjustable. It has adjustable sensitivity. You can select between music or tone, and you can adjust the volume. It has a 2-watt speaker. It's not a buzzer. It's an actual speaker, so it sounds great. And what we did when I built this is I actually brought in 3 different engineers for this. I had one engineer from a university here in Iowa. He designed the EMF detection circuit. I had another engineer. He came in and designed the music portion of it, to play the music. And then we learned that we needed to have a microcontroller to control it all. So I had to bring in a guy that is specialized in microcontrollers and writing firmware. So I ended up with 3 really smart engineer folks that had over 30 years experience in their field to design this. I'm able to create the prototype in the sense of, is it possible, right? Proof of concept, I think is what it's called, right? So I can do that, but I don't want to sell that. What I want to sell is a precision piece of equipment, quality piece of equipment, one that doesn't drain the batteries. That's the thing about buying a lot of this stuff off Facebook that people are making in their garage. It might work, it might not work, but it's probably not effective or efficient, right? And it's going to drain the batteries down, and that's the way that they work. So, when I hire engineers to do this, that's some of the things that goes into the input with them is, longevity of the batteries, making it efficient. And that's where the quality of components come in is, good quality components, yes, you can get cheap substitutes, but the problem with those cheap substitute components is they're just not efficient or effective. They may give you the same output, but they're going to use more, battery. They're going to use, they're going to get hotter. There's just a lot of problems with that. So that's why I stick with the name brand components.
But the other thing too is they're going to give you false positives, and the sad part is, and what the line Rob and I walk a lot with our equipment is, there are a lot of people that for their YouTube or their TikTok or whatever just want the thing going off. They don't care if it's real or not. I have a lady who's mad because the XLS, because it does not have false positives, which is the SLS version 2, doesn't see as many stick figures as the SLS, because the SLS can have false positives. You map a tree or a coat rack, it has a false positive. The XLS doesn't. So she's mad because it doesn't see as many stick figures, but yet it sees apparitions, orbs that cast shadows, mist, things that the SLS could never hope to see. And I'm trying to explain to her, like, lady, this device goes way beyond the SLS. The SLS is great, and it does see real spirits. And she said, well, I want to see the stick figures of my friends on the TikTok too, and it wasn't mapping this stick. Well, sometimes when there's a crowded room with lots of people talking, the 3D mapping also needs its microphone array to map people in with a skeleton. It'll show still the outline. And I said, if all you and all your friends were talking and there was furniture in the room and things, you're kind of overloading the device, and it's not going to show your stick figure of 6 of you in a room together. It's not going to do that. If it was you by yourself, it could. I said, but the point of this is to map dead people, not live people. So what are we really talking about?
Yeah, but with any piece of technology, I just feel like there's always a chance. Like, always a chance. I know what you're saying is more of a chance, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like with any piece of technology, and that's I think, like, the hardest part, like, trying to show somebody who's a skeptic evidence, they're always like, well, how do you know? And the truth of the matter is, it's like, yeah, we can make our thing as foolproof as possible, but I feel like no matter what amount of device we have, we could still somehow have a false positive if it's picking up some type of environmental stuff. I mean, like you said, Rob, if you turn it all the way down, like the EMF thing, you're not going to get anything, because you're not going to read any type of EMF, but we are looking for that whisper, like you said. And I think that's such the hardest part with, like, trying to get through to people when they watch certain things. I mean, obviously the people that fake it is one of the biggest reasons why people probably don't believe nowadays. But, with any piece of equipment, I think that there always is a chance, for that slight chance, no matter how great the technology is, to have that false positive. We just try to make it as minuscule as possible with the things that are created. Am I wrong, or am I?
Well, that's why I said the key was to have corroborating evidence. When I'm not just talking about multiple EMF meters, I'm talking about, he's got an ultrasonic motion detector going off with a thermal mapping laser grid with a 3D mapping camera. With my EMF and REM pod had just gone off before that. My Paratech, which is like an Ovilus word bank, was talking like that's a figure of playing the piano, and it said piano. When you have all these multiple different types of technologies going off at the same time, then it's harder to dismiss it. What else could it be that shows up on everything?
Yeah, exactly. But that's not what I said. What I said was one piece of evidence. I wasn't saying a whole group.
No. I know. I said, but that's why I try to litter the area with equipment.
Yeah.
I'll put it everywhere.
Oh no, I get it. Oh, absolutely. I just wish that people who were really skeptical understood that. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and I think that's a problem with especially new people into the field, is they will take a device. I'm surrounded. I don't know which one to grab. I've got circuit boards all over, but they believe that it detects ghosts, right? So my K2 goes off, it has to be a ghost. There's no other explanation, right? But you know that there are other explanations, right? So you try to triangulate the source, right? So if you're using the K2 and it goes, which I recommend you don't use the K2, and I have my explanation as to why, but if you're using it and it's going off when it shouldn't, make sure, one, everybody's phones are turned off. You're not wearing a smartwatch. I've seen that so many times. I actually had a guy say, when I put it in my right hand, it doesn't go off, but when I put it in my left hand, it goes off. And I'm like, you're wearing a smartwatch. And he's like, no, I have my phone on airplane mode. I said, that's got nothing to do with your smartwatch. It's still generating EMF. And he really believed that the spirit was trying to tell him something through which hand he was holding the K2 meter. And I'm like, you got to be
Wow.
smarter than a
That's why I
device.
almost want to do a class on how to use equipment with an EMF meter of any type. K2, the cheap one, we the inexpensive one that we sell that I've used for years. That's great. Is you go around the room and try to find the zero area, and then you put it there on a little tripod, or just I've stood them up, just laid them down, and back away and leave it alone. Use it like a REM pod. If it goes off, great. Then you try to get on-command responses with it, and then see if you can dial it in that way. I don't carry them around. I have a Mel meter. It gets put down on I have a little science table now that AJ's about to see soon, with several different scientific devices on each end of the table where they don't affect each other. And I'm trying to see, like, one's a magnetometer, one does barometric pressure, the Mel meter does 8 different things, that's over there. And I'm trying to see if they go off together, what type of activity is going on my 3D mapping kit, all the other stuff I got. And that's how I feel the best way to do it is to find an area where it's not being affected, leave it alone. If it goes off, then try to have a conversation with it, and don't ask the entity to keep setting it off to prove it's there. Just think about yourself as a live person. If somebody kept asking you to do that, it would piss you off. Get right into the conversation. Great. If that was you, set it off again. Boop. All right, great. Let me ask you yes or no questions, and just get right into it. Are you a man or a woman? If you're a man, set it off. Boop. All right, great. Did you die here? Boop. Like that sort of thing.
Yeah. And what Todd said there was really important about putting the K2 down. So you can take a K2 meter and shake it really fast, right? And you can get it to go off.
Mm-hmm.
All you're doing is, we're surrounded by EMF, and one of the strongest magnetic fields is the Earth's magnetic field. Now, that is a permanent magnet. Okay. So we would consider that to be DC, not AC. The K2 looks for AC type magnetism. Okay. So if you take that K2 and you're flipping it up and down really fast, it takes that direct current or DC magnetic field and makes it look like an alternating one. So it says, well, I'm detecting an alternating magnetic field. So it goes off. So if you're moving it fast and you get it to go off, when you move it, that's a clear sign that you're probably not picking up anything other than the Earth's magnetic field. And that's why, like Todd said, you need to set it down or move it very slowly and then do it.
Yeah, I highly recommend just setting it down and walk away from it a few feet and see if you can get it to go, get somebody to set it off and have a conversation,
Yeah, well, but like Rob, anyway, to show off some of your equipment that you make.
Oh, yeah.
And show the viewers and stuff what you have.
Yeah, so I showed the Piccolo earlier.
We're talking about this beforehand.
Yeah, the EMF. This one is the Epic Box, and it is a response device. So it has yes and no. It is not a motion detecting device. This thing actually reads the environmental energy. So it reads a combination of EMF, static, and charge density. So what that means is either one of those alone will not set it off. It takes all 3 of those in the right combination to get the green light or the red light to go off. Now, it is true, and this is to AJ's point earlier, that occurs naturally in our atmosphere. Okay, so you will get what I call noise, just random blips, and they'll be fast. They'll be really quick, less than a second blip. I would throw those out. When you get a blip that lasts for like a second or longer, that is significant, and I would pay attention to those. So these I have on pre-order for May. April is sold out. So if you're interested in these, you can pre-order for May. I've also, again, the Piccolo. This is the EMF music box that has the speaker. It also has a gauge here, an EMF gauge, right? And then it has the trigger sensitivity selector, and then the volume here as well. And it's a 3-axis EMF, so it's similar to a tri-field.
Yeah,
And then
awesome.
then I've got the ultrasonic motion detector, which is Todd's favorite, and it should be, because it's a very, very, very cool device. And when I first made that, I took it out to a local group here lets me, show up, shadow them free of charge. I don't have to pay for the tickets or anything. And I bring a bunch of my equipment that I'm tinkering with, and I want to see if it works in the paranormal field, because I don't always know. I come up with a lot of ideas, and I put that one and I pointed it down a hallway, and people kept walking up and down the hallway. It was pretty active and it's going off, and I could see people were getting annoyed with it. So I turned it off because it wasn't the right environment anyway, because I kept walking up down the hallway. So I waited until everybody went downstairs. And then when they went downstairs, I flipped it on. Well, one of the mediums came upstairs and she said, there's something down at the end of the hallway. I'm like, oh, okay. And she asked it to come forward. Well, the ultrasonic motion detector showed movement forward. And I was like, okay. And she said, now can you take 2 steps back? And the ultrasonic motion detector showed something moving back. And I was like, okay, maybe this will work in the paranormal field. So I took it to a few other haunts, and similar outcomes, strange things it was picking up. And somebody had an SLS camera that they were mapping a figure. I didn't have this set up yet, but he said there's a figure in the dining room over in that corner. So I sat it up and I sat it down real quick, pointed it in that corner, and I wasn't getting anything. And I'm like, well, I'm not showing anything. He says, well, it's gone. I said, okay. And he said, it's back. And as soon as he said it's back, it started beeping again, the ultrasonic motion detector. And then that's when I was like, okay, I think this has real staying power for the paranormal.
Now, can you tell us the difference? Because you were just telling us in the back the difference between yours and obviously Ghost Top's new tracer that they just came out with. Can you explain the difference?
I looked at the video, Rob. I watched the video.
Yeah.
So they're using ultrasonic motion detection too. He kind of stole my idea.
Rob and I talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
Rob, it looks like it's going to fall over.
Yeah, his is designed to sit on the floor. Now, the problem that I know from designing these, when you put this on the floor, trying to get it squared up on the camera, it has a cone that it shoots out sound. It's a cone, okay? If you've got a floor here, it's going to bounce back into that signal, and you're going to get false positives all day long. And that's why I put a tripod insert on mine, so you could get it up off the floor on a tripod. If you put it on the floor, you're going to get false positives. And I see people do that with the paranormal music box, which also uses ultrasonic motion sensors as its motion sensor. And then the tracer from Ghost Stop is also designed to go on the floor. The other problem I have with the tracer is, it's a trip hazard because it goes on the floor, right? 2, how many times can those LEDs get stepped on before they're toast? And, 3, I've seen it. I won't say who, but there was an influencer that I was watching his YouTube, and he got one of them, and he was trying to lay out the LEDs, and they kept coiling back up. And he'd lay it out flat, and they would coil back up. So he had to tape them down, and I'm like, well, that's not going to work. In the dark, when you can't see, that's just a trip hazard. You're going to step on it and crush it. Cool idea. I'll give them that. It shows a light on that strip where it thinks that it sees it. I think that's a very cool idea. I just don't think it's practical, though.
To answer
just while you're on there, we've got someone asking about the Diana, friend of ours, is asking, is this gear available for New Zealand? So she would order it just off Etsy, and it would be shipped out.
She could order it through Todd on Etsy, or she
can order it through me.
Yeah.
So
it's relatively paranormal, all one word, .etsy.com, and then we'll ship it international.
Yeah, because obviously they're in New Zealand. It's Diana and Johnny as well. They're in New Zealand at the minute, so if they want to order it, then they can have it shipped out there. Isn't that correct?
That's right.
Yeah, we ship it out internationally through the shop. Yeah.
Excellent.
And honestly, I would grab that last ultrasonic motion detector. That thing's badass. Marissa and I mount it on a tripod about 3 feet off the ground, hoping to capture anything taller or shorter because we see weird small things too. And sometimes it doesn't go off for a couple hours. We were at the old Iron Island Museum in Buffalo. It's been on a bunch of TV shows, and they have this weird, creepy hallway that they say there's like a vortex on. And I had it pointed down the hallway forever, and there was nothing. And then we moved way down right where they said the portal was, and immediately it started beeping as if something was like peeking around the corner. So I grabbed the GS2. I'll give that company props. The GS2 is a badass device, and we put it there, and it was mapping a blue figures like as if like the top of the torso on the head, as if it was peeking around the corner, and it stayed there the whole time. And the GS2 wasn't going off either before that. So the ultrasonic motion detector was beeping, and that was going off as if something was moving back and forth, peeking at us. It was creepy. We took a ton of pictures. I haven't had a chance to go through them yet of that area, but it was crazy. It was pretty crazy.
Definitely got to get me one of those.
You better grab that last one, brother.
There's only one, so you better grab it.
It tells you if you're going
Diana,
forward or backwards,
Diana.
like he was mentioning, with a red light and a green light and a different tone. So you know if it's moving towards you, away from you, and you can see it on the LED, you know, in feet and inches. So we've seen it come up under a foot, like 0.8, like 8 inches away. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy stuff. It's one of my favorite pieces of equipment. You can't have mine. I'll tell you that. Sorry.
Like, I protect myself.
Yeah, and I was going to say also to all the viewers that are watching right now, also go to ghostgeartech.com. That's streaming at the bottom too to check out some more Rob stuff as well. But Rob, keep going with what you were saying before about oh man, I totally forgot what I was just going to say.
Let me tell you about the Epoch though. That he just pulled out the Epoch box, right? So he sends Marissa and I prototypes so that we can make commercials and we can test them out, because I sell better when I've tried it, obviously. And I'm in a haunted schoolhouse right now. I'm in a haunted building. We have spirits here. You can go to my YouTube channel and watch Our Haunted House, Relatively Paranormal, and you'll see all sorts of weird stuff from this house. But as soon as we took it out of the wrapper and turned it on, I have a video of like a 10-minute conversation with, I don't know who it was, if it was our spirit here, Angie, or if it's the little demonic imp that runs around here. I can't see him, so I don't know. But it was pretty impressive. And we called Rob right up after. We said, we're not going to believe this shit. Like, the thing was going off like crazy. But it was direct going off. It wasn't, it was waiting till we asked the question, and then it was answering yes or no.
Yeah, it's not blimp.
No was red, yes was green, but it was waiting. It was like, is this Angie? It would be like, beep, no. Is this something that was not human? Yes, like it was going off. Like, I think it was the imp. But
yeah, it was what Rob was talking about earlier. Like, you don't want to pay attention to little blimps that come. You want something solid, like what you were getting.
You can tell. You can tell. Just like with almost every device, you can tell that, like, if something's answering it with using it to answer with authority, or if it's just something that seems random. Even though the flashlight, the little mag lights we use, you can tell when they're like bang, 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 or when they're like whether the spirit's losing energy or whatever it is. You know, you can tell like almost like how much power they have by how they're setting things off, which always impresses me.
Now, Rob, what I wanted to ask you was, do you have anything in the works that you could talk about? Any ideas?
I got a few things that I'm looking at, and I'll be testing them out here in a week. I'm going to Morristown, Tennessee, to investigate a house that laid empty for quite a few years. It was built in 1901, and the homeowners, the person that they hired to do the renovation, they found clothing in the wall. Well, after they removed the clothing in the wall, they started getting shadow figures moving about, hearing footsteps, hearing voices. I mean, they were hearing full-on conversations in other rooms, and the guy would go in there to expect to find somebody, and there's nothing there. So they reported that to me. They're relatives of mine, and they know that I'm into the paranormal. So they reached out to me, and so I've got quite a few new devices that don't even have enclosures. They're in cardboard boxes. That's how I test them out, because cardboard boxes are cheap. So I throw them in a cardboard box, and little LEDs sticking out of them. It's kind of funny. It looks like R2-D2 got in a fight with Vader and lost. But I do have a few of those. I leery about mentioning them early on, because copycats out there. But if you watch those videos, you'll see quite a few cool new. And hopefully they work. You know, it's like I said earlier, I take stuff out not knowing if they're going to work in the paranormal or not. They're just crazy ideas that I have, and I try them out. Sometimes, you know, they're rock stars. Sometimes they're duds. So we'll see.
And the two of us are always talking about different things that we think we might be able to come up with one way or another. He can do this, I can do that, whatever it is. It's honestly like Rob and I are a great example of how things should be against how things really are. Rather than fighting each other over customers, we work together and we talk all the time, trying to bring new things to the paranormal community to use to investigate with that are legitimate. We don't want any BS, garbage, garage tech nonsense. We want real stuff to bring to you guys. And we talk all the time about different things. Hey, I'll see something. I'm like, do you think you could do this? Do you think you could do that? Without bringing in engineers like this. If this looks like a cool gadget, we'll see somewhere. Do you think this is feasible? Would it work? Would it be cost effective? We try to keep the cost down. We're not trying to fleece people, all that good stuff. And, that's how it should be. That's not how it is, though. I get trolled every day by fake Facebook accounts on my ads from people that I know are builders. Because you go to look and it's a picture of a dog. They just opened the account the day before. They have no friends, but then they're writing nasty stuff all over my ads. Like you know who it is. I know who you are. But, there's no way to prove it though. But it should be this way. But unfortunately, most of the time it's the other way, which is sad. It's sad.
And that's true because on my website I had a reviews up for customers to come and put reviews. But it was getting bombarded with negative reviews. And because it's my website, I'm able to go and look at the IP address of where they're coming from. And they're all the same IP address. So it's the same person creating multiple accounts. And like Todd said, it's probably another builder that just wants to,
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
Can you invent
something that proves
I know they're not dust, and I already have something that proves they're not dust, which is called the XLS, which only maps things with mass and density.
Yeah, but there's two sets, dude. The thing that you're getting is completely
different.
Yeah,
but the XLS doesn't pick up a crumb of dust. The XLS don't pick up crumbs of dust.
You see pictures, and there's just a bunch of little circles.
Yeah, I don't mention orbs in pictures.
You're talking about like a light anomaly type looking thing, like something you can actually see. That's totally different than what she's talking about, I think.
So
I don't know. I don't count orbs in pictures because that can be dust. But when there's a solid orb casting a shadow on the wall the size of a basketball, and I freeze frame it, and there's a face inside of it on a 3D mapping camera, it's an effing ghost, bro. Call it what you want. It comes out of a room and makes a right turn and boomerangs back into that room. I'll tell you what. I have a video of. I happen to think that a lot of spirits don't like to be seen, and I walk into this room. That this camera hit this room for 6 hours with no orbs. I walked into the room with the SLS, and as soon as those dots, you could see them on the infrared screen, like me hitting the room, you see orbs going pew, pew, pew. Out of all there was 2 doorways shooting every which way but loose because they didn't want to get caught on that camera for some reason. And then as soon as I left the room with the SLS, it stops, and another 3 hours, nothing. So it's crazy, intelligently moving, perfectly circular, self-lit, flashing. It's a ghost. It's a ghost. It's a ghost.
But I think for the dust, if you think about it, what a lot of that can be, especially when it's dust, it's particles in the air, right? And who takes pictures with a crap ton of particles in the medium? Scuba divers, right? Scuba divers are down underwater, which is full of particles. Have you ever been on vacation and had your little cheap disposable camera and you saw a cool parrotfish and you took a picture of it and you got home, developed it, and it looked like crap, right? Because you got all those particles. Because the flash is right there next to the lens, so it bounces straight back into the lens. Scuba divers, and you can Google this, their cameras have mounted lights that are like 3 feet away from the lens. That's why they're able to take those beautiful pictures of fish and not get all that particle reflection back at them. And I think that's the problem why the orbs have increased in people seeing them, is because we've got these GoPros and we've got our phones. And if you look, the flash is millimeters away from the lens. So you're going to get that to bounce straight back into the camera. What you need to do is have a satellite flash, one that's farther away. Yeah. And then you start doing that, and you'll see that the orbs will go away. And then if you do get one, like Todd said, one that's like generating its own light or whatever, then you got something.
Well, in my opinion, like dust looks. I've been in basements before where you kick up dust and everything. It's easily seen. It looks like snow. It's all going in the same direction. Like you don't get like like a pile of dust that kicks up. Like if I went outside when I was a kid and kicked it into the sun, and you can see all the dust float away with the wind. A big like softball sized piece of dust doesn't break off from the pile and shoot off in the other direction, stop in midair and fly back. That doesn't happen. Okay, the intelligently moving, self-lit, perfectly circular ones traveling alone. You know, dust isn't the size of a softball. It's not huge. It's especially the ones in the back, like Rob said, in the back of the room, far away from the lens. And when they're moving intelligently and take a right turn and go into a doorway, you know, and up until the XLS, you know, there was sometimes I was like, maybe not. But when I started seeing these things on the XLS that are casting shadows on the wall behind them and as solid as my head, and have like weird, like it almost looks like there's material swirling inside of them. Like you'd have to go to my videos to watch. Like some of this stuff is weird, man. It's weird.
Now,
You know, mists that are changing shape and color, like ain't dust.
now,
It's not
Rob, let me
dust.
ask you a question. Do you think when we're seeing like these light anomalies with our cameras, like when Rob's talking about, when Rob's talking, or when Todd's talking about how we're seeing these things and you know that are like light anomalies or whatever we want to call them, do you think that the camera might be picking up energy in a certain way?
It's possible. So you got to look at the spectrum of light that the camera is picking up. It is a little broader than our visible light spectrum that we can see in. So it is possible that, you know, just on the fringe that it's grabbing something that we can't see with our own eyes. You know, for instance, a lot of cameras come with an IR filter that you can go in, remove that filter, and you've got an IR camera. You don't have a true IR camera. It doesn't look at the true IR spectrum, but it does look at a part of the spectrum of the IR spectrum. So, you know, that's always possible. But the thing with the paranormal is it's hard to say definitively because you can never really reproduce it. And that's the scientific method, right? Being able to reproduce things. Yeah. And we really can't, you know. So, yeah. So that
I heard about it though is someone will be doing an investigation and they'll move something in a room or they'll kick something in a room that's on the floor and a load of dust will come up and the first thing you hear out of their mouth is, "Oh, look at all these orbs," and you're sitting there going, "God save us all, man." You know what I mean?
You can usually tell pretty easily. I can anyway. I've watched thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of video. And it's pretty obvious what's what. I like the really impressive ones. Like I've caught them shooting out of mirrors, shooting into mirrors. And the key part, listen, I don't like living in a haunted house. I don't like living in this house. Let me just put that out there. It's not fun. Anybody who thinks it's fun, it's not. I get drained a lot. It affects my emotions. But the one positive that came out of it is this poor woman who passed away in this building like 10 years ago. When we first moved in, we thought it was cool. And we used to talk to her through our spirit box and all of our devices. And we asked her any questions. Just think about an investigation that never ends. Anytime you wanted to talk to her, we could. And we would ask her things like, do you guys travel in orb form? And then I did a video where I stood in the middle of the room like a scarecrow, and Marissa called off body parts. And she would say left arm, and behind me you would see woof, and an orb would appear, and it would shoot over my left arm. And she would say head, and all of a sudden, one would go over my head. And we did it for like 20 minutes. But then we would ask, like, do you use mirrors as portals? And she said, yes, all spirits do. And then the next day we were messing around with with some friends over with the SLS camera, and a stick figure appears in my mirror and it jumps out of the mirror and lands in front of my kitchen table. It's on my YouTube channel. It's called a mirror portal in my kitchen or something. And then another one appears in the mirror and it looks like a portal opens up. And then it shrinks down and it crushes the stick figure up, and then it shut itself down, and then it reappeared and shut down again. It's a weird video. So, you know, I happen to think they can use mirrors somehow. I don't know how. I don't know how you would use it as a portal, but I'm not dead. So I don't know. I just have captured these things, and that's all I can tell you.
Well, Rob,
just said that.
Have you ever seen? There was an experiment that they did actually, including mirrors. That was on Ghost Adventures. Billy Tolley did this. Billy Tolley and Jay Wasley put this screen or whatever on the like mirror, and I guess if you know the spirit was to go in it, it would set off some kind of thing with EMF or something along those lines. Is something possible to create like that? And the other question I wanted to ask before was, have you ever got into making any type of spirit box type things as well? So 2 questions.
I'll start with the spirit box one. No, I haven't, because there's a lot of people out there doing it already. And for me, I like to focus on new and unique devices that
Absolutely.
don't already exist.
Yep.
Because when you start looking at business, you talk blue ocean, red ocean, meaning no competition, a ton of competition. And right now there's just so much competition in the ITC spectrum that I don't think that it would, I don't think I could add anything to it, I guess is what I'm saying, to make it, worth it. And then the other question, could I, I'm brainstorming in my head as you described it, and I'm thinking of like a copper mesh.
Yeah.
That you could somehow use that as your sensor and check for EMF. But the problem is it would be so big, it would have such a huge surface area that it would be picking up all EMF, right, at that point. So you would have to really tone it down to not get any false positives. So, I mean, is it possible? Yeah, it would just take a lot of research into it to figure out what that number is, so that you're not picking up every radio station and TV station that's broadcasting in the area, or microwave going off in the kitchen or something like that. Because, again, that surface area of that mesh would be so big, it would be like having a 300 foot,
I think,
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of transient EMF out there that moves around, refrigerators turning on and off, different things that it's difficult to tell. That's why you have to be very careful with it.
Yep.
Yeah, no, definitely. I totally agree. And there is a lot of competition right now in the ITC community, and that's why it's great that we get to bring on people like yourself that, are coming up with different ideas and coming up with different ways that have knowledge in this engineering space and into this whole field and in general. I mean, what got you into paranormal just in general? I mean,
just the haunted house that I grew up in.
That was it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. That house, it started when I was probably around 6 years old. That's when Dad had the second floor added on, and continued all the way up until we moved out. I was 26 years old when we moved out, and it was still active all the way up until then. My sister was seeing a little boy with no legs. My dad's seeing shadow crawlers, and he doesn't believe in the paranormal or ghosts. And he'll tell you there's no such thing as ghosts, and then he'll, with the same breath, tell you about the shadow crawlers that he saw. And then things would get up on the bed. He could feel them, crawling up onto the bed with him. I've seen things come in and out of. I think the portal was actually in my bedroom, because on 2 occasions I was taking a nap. This is during the day, and I kind of woke up a little bit from my nap, and I saw it. It was your typical Ghostbusters looking ghost there, but it was like sleeping. His eyes were half closed and his head was kind of off, and it opened up its eyes and saw that I could see it, and it looked confused and slid like it was on a track to the wall. And then years later, I saw another spirit come out of that same wall and come into my room and then vanish later. And so I think that right there, back behind my door where that wall is, I think maybe that was the portal where they were coming and going in and out of there, because my room was most active.
So you think the portal was on the land the whole time and he just put the addition over it?
It could have been. They might have been hanging up. One theory is they were hanging out in the attic, and Dad added a second floor, because when they went up there to add the second floor, they found a lot of burned wood, and come to find out, this was one of the first houses built in that neighborhood, that the early houses were built with this wood found from a couple barns, and one of those barns had burned down. So they reused some of that wood. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it or not, but it's adds a creep factor to it at least.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have heard like stuff in the attic before then, though? I believe the spirits do hide away from people in the attic basements.
I think yes. And here's why: because before the second floor was put on, and I was much younger than 6 years old, I was out in the backyard by the patio playing and talking to someone. Well, my mom happened to notice that there was nobody else out there. I was by myself, and she wanted to know who I was talking to. So she came outside and she said, "Who are you talking to?" And I told her Grandma. Now, Grandma had passed away when my mom was young. Her mom passed away when she was in her early teens. So she was like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm talking to grandma." And my dad left for work and he backed up and drove down the road. And then I took off running in the same direction. Well, my mom thought I was chasing after my dad, but then she heard me yelling for grandma to come back. So apparently I was chasing after grandma. Well, later my mom got me and she's flipping through some old books, picture, and I point out grandma in the pictures, and it completely freaked her out. So was I really talking with my grandma? I don't know.
Yeah.
Was it the spirit being manipulative? Could have been, but there was, that's proof that there was activity before the second floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's so funny because everyone we bring on, that's either like really deep in the field or is an inventor like yourself. They always do say that they grew up in a haunted house. I mean, a lot of us. I mean, everyone, but Robin probably here is living in a haunted house or has lived in a haunted house. So it's just wild. It's a very common thing, and I don't shun it away. I believe that maybe I believe you did talk with your grandmother. I don't think it would have been a manipulative ghost, but it is wild that you said that to your family afterwards and pointed her out.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just that's awesome.
Can I
Scary,
just
but
say that I do live in a haunted house because my house is haunted by the kids and it's doing my head. If you can invent anything to get rid of Lee's lot, then.
So
Yeah,
listen,
no,
so a story I haven't told any of the three of you yet that happened to me the other day in this damn haunted house. So everybody knows about the imp here, right? I've told everybody about the imp, the little demonic minion that runs around here. And it likes to, I'll see my cat or my daughter or my wife, and I look over and nothing's there. Well, the other day, behind my chair here in the living room, let me show you. Behind that, can you see a blue chair there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so behind that chair is like a little hallway, and I saw like what looked to be almost like fur, like sticking out from behind the chair, and it was almost like the same color as my cat's hair. But then it's clicking with me like, wait a second, my cat's not 3 feet tall. And I looked around the corner, and does everybody remember? I'm not trying to be funny here. Remember Alf the alien from the 80s?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not even joking. It kind of looked like that with a smushed in nose and a pissed off ass face, and it was gone as soon as I saw it. Listen, I don't know what the F that is.
Alf.
What?
Alf was one of my friend's family members. The guy who actually did the puppeting and all that stuff. He was one of my friend's family members growing up. It's funny.
It's crazy though, and I've told everybody I think I may have opened something up here with putting like 6 power plants out like 2 years ago, not realizing, thinking I'm feeding ghosts, not realizing that I'm doing the same thing that could possibly open up a natural portal by using magnetic energy waves and crystals, and. That thing might not have been an imp. That thing could have been something from another dimension. I hate to sound crazy talking about this stuff, but it's my experience. I can only tell you about my experience. And it's weird. And I saw the thing. I'm not crazy. It was weird. I know that there's something open here because there's different things all the time. I'm starting to think more portal than just Angie and an imp. I think that things are going through here every day. That like a little highway of some sort. But whatever that was, I want it gone. I don't want that thing hanging around. Because it was weird. It was really weird. It was really weird.
Who knows? And who knows what it is? And who knows what it could do? And that's the scariest part about it. I think this field is like because we can't see any of these things, entities, spirits, whatever you want to call it. It's people don't realize that there is danger of this field with disrespect in certain places that you do go to with that negative energy. And we should know because, like, as scientist or engineer or anything, we know that. EMF, certain things, high EMF can really damage us, like body-wise, mental-wise. So it's, people don't realize that there is a very scary part to this field. But, I think a lot of us just.
Well, I mean, if we are talking to things from other dimensions, as well as demons, as well as human souls that are trapped here, God knows what they're capable of. Yeah. I mean, if you really think about it, like I'm capturing images that I've showed all you of things that look like weird, twisted animals. Like, is that a demon? Is that? Yeah. It doesn't look like a demon from like the Bible. It looks like a weird, twisted, pissed off creature. Like, what is that?
But back to your point, AJ, you were talking about EMF affecting people. I got a blog post where I'm brainstorming, and it's, I talk about the people that are EMF sensitive, and the World Health Organization has done studies on that, and it can cause rashes, it can cause depression, it can cause a lot of problems. But the other thing is that a lot of folks don't think about is positive ions. Positive ions are very bad for us. Negative ions are very good for us. Negative ions come from thunderstorms. They come from the forest. They come from running water. And where is it we all like to go on our vacation, right? We like to go to the beach. We like to go hiking through the forest or whatever. We like to be where there's positive or negative ions, right? Positive ions affect us, can actually cause organ failure. Positive ions can. So my theory is, could a malevolent spirit not only bombard their target with EMF, but could they also bombard their target with positive ions?
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a great thing to look at. I never thought about positive ions for them giving that like that. I always thought obviously high EMF. That's crazy you said that. And what's cool that you said about positive negative ions and how negative ions are really good for us is I was just watching a video that a scientist was talking to somebody on an interview, and he was saying, you know how when you're not feeling that great and you like let your dog outside and then they come back in, and for some reason you'll be petting the dog and all of a sudden you'll just feel better. And then scientist goes, that's because it'll go outside, it'll pick up the negative ions from the earth, from its environment, come back inside, you'll touch that and it'll transfer to you a little bit of it and you'll feel that positive effect. And I was watching this whole thing on it, so it's so crazy that you said that, because I was literally just watching it the other day.
You can buy negative ion generators for like on Amazon. So I've got one, I use it for ghost hunting, but this is a negative ion generator. It plugs in the wall and push on the button and it generates negative ions.
Nice. Wow. Yeah, not only that, but it's like if you're not well, the first thing you do, well, not the first thing you do, but one of the things you do is you go and get a shower to see to make yourself feel better. And you do, because it's running water.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, why do you think ghosts are always turning on faucets in the house, in people's houses?
I mean,
because they want the energy from the running water.
Yeah.
I don't think they're not turning on the faucet to scare you. They turn on the faucet because they want the energy from the running water because they don't have no energy. They have no way to create it.
I'm on a meter.
What's that?
They better not turn mine on. I'm on a meter.
Well, if you think about it, they have no way to create their own energy, and they have no physical body to hold the energy that they take from our electronics, our bodies, anything like that. So whatever they gather, it's gone. As soon as they do anything, it's gone. So
well, if you think about it too, running water is tied into the paranormal as well, right? So this place that I'm going to in Tennessee has got a cavern system underneath it with rivers that flow underneath it. So you've got the water spirits through folklore, right? You've got the tree spirits through folklore. Everywhere that there's a concentration of negative ions, there's some folklore tied around it. So I think maybe there is something to them, not only just feeding off EMF and what have you, but maybe even feeding off the positive ions. And
I'd be willing to bet the cavern system's full of quartz as well. So if you have running water, creating that energy, and then going through the quartz, and then coming up through the house, now you got a power plant right there, a natural power plant like the device I make. In that the house has a power plant in itself.
Right.
So
I think that is absolutely awesome, Rob. I want to ask you to come on again, man, soon, because there's more that I want to talk to you about. Unfortunately, we're near the end right now. But before we go, I'm going to put you full screen. Please shout out anything, our pages, obviously your website, anything where people can come check you out, hear more about you, even your blog, so they can learn some more like we have today. Hold on one second. Let me put you solo. But yeah, please do that.
Yep, you can go to www.ghostgeartech.com. I've got a blog where I write a lot of my musings and thoughts, and also you can purchase any of my devices from the shop.
Awesome. Hold on one second. Let me remove it. And it won't remove.
All right.
See these people with technology. I mean, I keep telling them, you know what I mean?
Who's talking? I don't see it.
Take AJ.
Yep, there we go. Got it.
Oh, right. You got it working, did you? Right. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I tell you, it's funny. I pressed the wrong button and it minimized my screen. I was like, no. But Rob, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Go check out Ghost Gear Tech. I mean, awesome stuff you're doing, man. Super excited to hear more, and I can't wait to see what you're coming up with next, to be honest. So.
Yep, some cool stuff coming out. So definitely sign up for the newsletter. and you'll be notified of any of that new devices I got coming out.
Excellent.
Cool beans.
Thank you, Rob.
Yep, thank you.
Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, thanks, Todd.
See you.
My man, 50
See you
grand.
later.
What you know about that?
All right. Talk to you soon, Rob.
What's
Wow,
up?
that was awesome. So I'm super happy you guys work together like that. Like you guys bounce ideas off each other. I think it's very important in this field to do that with good people. So that's awesome.
Awesome guy. Yeah, I'm glad that I found him. Like he saw the reviews I was doing on a Facebook page and sent me the ultrasonic motion detector. Asked me to do a review on it. And the first time I used it, it was lights out. So then I called him up and I said, "Hey, listen, can I sell you stuff in my shop? I see you just, you're doing it in your deal, but I sell a lot of stuff." And we just developed a partnership. Yeah, we bounce around ideas. Hopefully, we'll come up with something new. I got a couple of things that I'm thinking of doing.
Cool.
I actually might be adding full spectrum action cameras to the shop.
Awesome.
I built one for myself and it worked, so I'm thinking I'm going to do that. So that could be a new thing coming out, fellas.
Good. Keep it going.
Along with the SLS cameras and the XLS cameras, let me give a shout out to myself. We have 3 different shops: Etsy, eBay, and our website. RelativelyParanormal.com is the website. There's the equipment shop on there, plus product videos, plus all of our investigation videos where you can see these devices at work. And relativelyparanormal.etsy.com is my main shop on Etsy. 2 years worth of 5-star reviews. We sell the SLS camera, the best SLS camera on the planet, for $295. Okay. We have the SLS version 2, but we call it the XLS. You get a brand new 10-inch tablet with that. It is also, well, as far as I know, it's the only XLS on the planet right now, but we make it just as high quality, and we have a full line of equipment now. We have lights, we have K2 meters, EMF meters. I have a new static detector now that comes with its own mount. That's lights out. That's on the shop. And if you prefer eBay, it's eBay. I can't even do the eBay one.com. It's like /SPR. Yeah, just go to Etsy. Go to Etsy, the
In other
website.
words, Todd, what you're saying is, you're saying that you're determined to bankrupt me.
Yeah.
All right.
Listen, the static meter, I've been using it for a couple of years. It's awesome.
I'll have one of those.
All right, guys.
The static meter only picks up static electricity. It does not pick up man-made EMF. So when you put it next to an EMF meter, if you can get them both going off, you probably have something, because it won't go off from anything. But the static feeling we get on investigations, we get the chicken skin and the hair sticking up. Detects that, baby, and it comes with its own pistol grip mount that folds out. You can put out. What are you laughing about?
I'm just laughing.
This is how I make my living, bro, and I do a damn good job. Listen.
All into about you, man, in a matter of 50 seconds, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
So what?
I gotta go.
What?
I gotta go to work. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.